The next item is number 3, an application for a certificate of appropriateness at 35-45 79th Street in Jackson Heights Historic District in Queens, docket number 14-7657, block 1279, lot 46, an application for a neo-Georgian style apartment building designed by B. Cohen and built in 1938 to 40. And the application is to legalize the installation of a fence without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits.
Okay, good morning, Marianne Hurley, Preservation staff. This property is located on the east side of 79th Street between 35th and 37th Avenue in Jackson Heights Historic District of Queens. And this proposal is to actually legalize a 44-inch high iron fence that was installed without landmarks permits. And it's located along the edge of a narrow planting border that is also edged with Belgian rock. Jeff Ackerman is here, who will continue the presentation.
This site presently sits on 79th Street, which is takes up a very large part of the block, almost takes up 50% of the block that's there now. They had installed the fence previously without permits. A long time ago, the new owners had purchased the property, and they're trying to alleviate all violations that are stated on the property as of now. As you can see, the fence goes along the entire property line from one edge of the building to the other edge of the building. On page 2, it covers, it's a 44-inch height fence. The actual property is not flat, it rises, so it's not a straight fence across the board, but it's 44 inches from above. So look at the next slide. So the site's actually not flat, it actually has a pitch. As it goes to the side over here, you have more height on the thing, but the fence is steady at 44 inches across the board above grade. This, just to be clear, we're not looking to legalize this particular fence, which is right at the front of the building. That actually is existing and was there at the time of the preservation picture. And that's actually an existing fence from the picture when it was taken, when it went into landmarks preservation at the time. And therefore, that's actually a fence that was...
It's a railing. It's a railing.
Railing that was there before. As you can see, photos of the fence over here. We tried to take measurements of the height of the fence to show the tape measure. I think it's better on the actual handouts. You can see a better photo of it. The actual height of the fence. And that fence basically goes across the entire property. We have taken some photos of the fence throughout the length, because you can actually see how the fence affects the property. We understand at the time when this was made landmarks, and this area was made landmarks, the concept was to have buildings with some grass area in the front, and therefore that's why these fences are an issue for that look of the entire site and the entire area as there. Some more photos, and then the designation photo that was taken at the time. As you can see, there's no fence to adjust those ratings that are here at the front of the actual property. Here's actually a couple of photos of the neighbor properties that are in the area that have fences. Some of them are slightly high, some of them are shorter. Some of the, you can see here, this one's here on 81st Street. That's actually a very high fence. Could have been there at the time of when it was put into landmark, so therefore it's not necessarily reflect that this is what is going on at the time. These fences here also, and then a fence that we have this property here, which is on 73rd Street. And that's basically the property that's there. We understand that Landmarks has an issue with fences around the property, and we're not here to say, oh, here, put a 44-inch fence. We're here to say, look, we understand the situation, the owners understand the situation when they purchase the property and the landmark violation. They're looking to find a resolution to the issue and therefore try to alleviate all violations on the property.
Right, but so you just want to legalize what you've already put in?
We would like to legalize. If it can't be legalized, we'll do whatever the Landmarks Preservation Commission suggests for us to do to fix the issue, to remove the violation.
Okay. Questions for the applicant? All right. We'll take testimony and then we'll get back to you. Okay, so Kelly Carroll?
Kelly Carroll, Historic Districts Council. HTC objects to this legalization. Fencing is a prolific violation in this historic district. We ask the commission to take a firm stand in support of its own regulations requiring property owners in districts to seek approval prior to working on their building and to deny this application. To do so otherwise is to undermine the commission's authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? All right, Community Board 3, Queens, has submitted a resolution recommending that we disapprove legalizing the existing fence. All right, yes, Diana?
Just comments? Yeah.
Yes.
I reside in the district, and I'm very familiar with the location. You can understand to a degree how it happened originally, because there are fences on this street that almost the entire other side is about 36 or something, maybe a little higher, because fences vary throughout the district. However, the rules that were established for the district provide that we're going to move to a lower fence, and we just, I think, a couple weeks ago approved one at the end of this block at about 28. I think it was 3515 79th Street. So that gradually, as fences are replaced, they will be, at the lower level. And this really is in contravention to what the Landmarks Commission expects to see in the district, which is lower fences. That's going to take a long time, because there's a lot of difference on many, many blocks. And as I said, currently on the side that's the 3515, almost everything's higher than the one we just approved. But in the future, they will all be lower. So I think as people come to us to seek legalization, we need to have either preserve the standard or change the standard, because it's we need to have consistency going forward in the long run. And so I would recommend going for the lower height on this particular location.
Okay, and I would agree. I think that in an ideal world, you wouldn't have any fences, but there have been so many fences, and I think the commission has worked hard to establish some ability and flexibility to have fences, but to make them as least obtrusive as possible. And I think what concerns me about this particular block is that the frontage of the building is very long. There may be situations where it's much smaller and not so apparent, but here we have a building where you have this illegal fence which stretches, it seems like, I don't know, close to, seems like 200-300 feet. And so perhaps in this situation, they should really work with our staff to bring it down to 28 inches if that's the standard that we have, where the commission has felt comfortable with. Yes.
Or removing it altogether? I mean, bringing it down means replacing it, right? I mean,
Right.
they're not going to, there's no other,
Right, they would have to do that, but I think that just in terms of what the commission has allowed in the past, is that we have allowed fences, but we've allowed them at 28 inches, and that seems to be what the policy has been.
my sense is, though, that you would be inclined to removing it altogether than to replacing it.
Well, I would have to speak to the building owners, but as far as I understand, most buildings in the area, if you have grassed area, and if you don't have a fence, it ends up being trampled and not actually becoming a grassed area. It ends up looking like, I know what the commission's trying to accomplish by having the grassed area in front of the buildings, but what we end up with is just trampled grassed area most of the time at that point, if you don't have a fence.
Actually, in this district, the wrought iron fencing is typical rather than atypical.
Okay.
You do not find many unfenced completely
Right,
areas.
but what I'm
because-
saying is, if the owner decides to not fence it, would we accept that? Because my sense is
I think we'd
that-
accept that if
Yeah, that's
Really?
acceptable.
We would?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause it's
But,
gonna
but I think in this case, it's about sort of legalizing the fence. Our recommendation should be that they work with staff and bring it down to 28 inches. Does that seem reasonable?
Well, we could recommend that, yeah. If they don't want, they could return then to,
Right, that, it could be the either or.
okay, I guess, well, can we do an either or? I don't.
Although
think
it
we
seems, right,
It can be an approval with modification to make the fence lower.
But we would either say do that, or we wouldn't say or don't do any fence.
No, we've approved fences on a regular basis in this district.
Right, but the question is that if they want to remove the fence, would that need to even come to us for any kind?
No, because
No,
that's a
no.
historic
It would be done at
condition,
staff.
and that was at the time of designation, that was.
Right, so that was the time of designation, there was no
There was
fence,
no
so the
fence,
removal of it is
Yeah.
an option that doesn't really have to come before the commission.
Okay.
Okay, so we can, let's close the hearing. All right, Chris, would you like to read that, please? Thank you.
To the matter of certificate of appropriateness of, at 3545 79th Street, Jackson Heights Historic District. Application is to legalize the installation of a fence without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits. I recommend approval with modifications. Finding that the simple design of the wrought iron fence is in keeping with the spare classical neo-Georgian ornament of the building, that the transparency of the fence allows a view of the planted area it encloses, and that the fence is located at the edge of the sidewalk, allowing for a substantial planting bed which reinforces the garden city character of the historic district. That the height of the fence be reduced to a total of 28 inches, including the curbing, in order to maintain the visual qualities of the small planting areas, an important characteristic of the historic district.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application has been approved. All right.
Possibly be able to cut it down and